Welcome to the At Home-ish podcast, creating spaces where we belong. I mentioned in a previous episode that I tend to struggle with perfectionism. I want to circle back to that because, sometimes we believe that something has to be perfect or something has to be big in order to make a difference. And it's often a barrier from doing the simple things or the small things that really matter. Belonging does not have to be burdensome or complex. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to have read everything, but it really calls on us to be curious, calls on us to smile, to answer that phone call, reply to that email, to show up and be present. That's where we can really work to build community and create spaces where we belong. All that to say, our next guest comes to us by way of simply reaching out with a story to share about how they work to create community within a group that has a very special connection to me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over now to our guest to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you, Will. I'm Lorraine McCurry. I'm the co-founder and COO of Parkinson's Wellness Place. We're right here in downtown Snohomish, and we do health and wellness services for people with Parkinson's.
Yeah. I think back to a couple of weeks, almost 2 months ago now when you reached out, because I would drive down Avenue D and I see your spot and I'm like, oh, I need to go in there. We really need to chat. And we did. We've chatted a couple of times. But as I mentioned to you, my stepdad had Parkinson's, and then that was really a challenging experience for me because unless you go through something, you don't always have information about what it is or how it impacts people. But I think about my dad was this guy who used to drive a bus for the city. He used to change truck tires. He used to joke around, so he had the Popeye forearms, right? And then to see him, making tea one day, and he was never a person to ask for help, and to see his hands shaking and to hear the glass and the saucer, and I'm like, what do I do? And so when you reached out, it really resonated with me. It's like, heck yeah, I want you to come on and talk about how you build community with this group. And so if you don't mind, could you please just kind of tell our listeners a little bit more about Parkinson's, because some people may not know, and the type of work that you do.
Absolutely. Parkinson's is one of those diseases that the more they learn about it, the more they realize that they don't know anything. So we have a saying in the Parkinson's world that if you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's.
Right.
There's so many symptoms, and every person experiences it differently. So the tremor is what people think is the hallmark symptom of Parkinson's, right?
Okay.
But not everyone has a tremor.
Mm-hmm.
For the physical symptoms that you see in a person, the most common are tremor, rigidity, so they just have trouble moving their body.
Oh.
I like to describe it as everything gets small.
Mm-hmm.
So your voice gets small, or your voice can get small. Your handwriting gets smaller, your steps, your posture. So those are some of the physical things that you see. But there's also so much stuff going on under the surface. So depression, anxiety, lowering of inhibition, sleep troubles, GI issues. I mean, there's so much. We have a poster up in the gym. It's a iceberg, and it's just such a good symbol of Parkinson's. So above the water, you see these physical things like the tremor or the stiffness in movement. But under the water, there's just so many things going on. Problems swallowing, problems drooling, memory fog, all of these things. And every person gets a different set of symptoms. And it can be such a disease that makes you feel alone, right? Because all of these things are being taken away from you, your independence, your ability to hold a cup of coffee in a saucer, right? You're worrying about the tremor. You're worrying about people looking at you differently because you have a tremor. So it can be very isolating. So what we try to do is make a place where they're not alone.
Yeah. Wow. And I feel like that's so, again, often overlooked if people aren't aware historically if someone has any kind of medical condition that they're going through. The family just has to deal with it, you know, and it can just be so challenging. And it's interesting because, I'll own, I didn't do a lot of research. I just partially went through it because I was in the Army, right? And then my family lived in Georgia while I was living in Washington. And so it was only every couple of years or so, because travel across country is expensive.
Yeah.
I wasn't home that often. And it was a matter of going home and, continuing to see my dad decline and then what you just shared really explains, okay, why is he up at 3:00 in the morning, just sitting in the kitchen? Did he just call my name? Why is he calling my name at 3:00? And, maybe needing help to get to the restroom or move around. And it's like, what's going on here? And there's just so much to it that we don't know if we don't not going through it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And my grandmother also had Parkinson's.
Okay.
And that was in the 80s and 90s. And back in those days, they said, oh, it's just this degenerative disease. You're just going to get worse until you have to get put in a nursing home or, But now they know that that is the worst thing that you can do for Parkinson's. So all of the drug therapies or surgeries are addressing symptoms. So you take your carbidopa, levodopa, and it calms your tremor while the meds are in your system. But there's nothing that really addresses the root of the disease because we don't even know what the root of the disease is. But exercise has been shown to slow down the progression of your disease. So like for my grandma who got worse, pretty quickly because she was sitting at home, like had she been more active, she would have had a longer, better life. So that's what we're trying to do at Parkinson's Wellness Place is give them that opportunity to slow down their disease by working out, but also giving them a place where they belong. And they're with people that understand what they're going through, that don't look at them if they're drooling, or get embarrassed by the fact that it takes them 5 minutes to put a coat on. Like everyone's in the same boat. They know what everyone's going through. And it's freeing for them to have this space where they can just be themselves and not worry about slowing people down because it takes them longer to do things. Or
So you mentioned your grandmother. Is that kind of what inspired you to get into this work? Or how did you get started with this?
It wasn't what inspired me. Lacey, my partner, and I, we like to say that fate brought us this.
Okay.
This is actually like my third career. So I started when I was in college. I worked at the Science Center down in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
And then I worked for them for decades. And I worked in like just about every department there, experiencing everything. Mid-30s, I had some health problems of my own. And it was just getting harder with 3 kids to justify driving to Seattle.
Right.
So as I was getting healthier after my own health scare, a friend of mine that I had danced with was like, oh, you should come try Zumba with me. It's fun like dance, but it doesn't have any of the drama that, you get when you're in a dance troupe with someone.
Right. That's another story.
Yes. Another story for another time. But so I went to Zumba with her and I was like, oh, this is fun. And this is something that I can do. It doesn't make me feel worse as my body's getting back to where it should be. So I kind of took that opportunity to pursue my second career, which was personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
And fitness. And I do still do personal training on the side. But about, 12 years ago, I got a job at Snohomish Fitness Center.
Okay.
A couple years after that, a new owner bought the place. That's Lacey, my partner at Parkinson's Wellness Place. And what we kind of created at Snohomish Fitness Center at the time was this community place. We had a lot of silver sneakers, people coming in. But she had started getting emails asking if we offered this program called Rock Steady Boxing. And it was this program for people with Parkinson's.
Right.
And the first email or two, you're like, oh, this sounds fantastic. What a great idea. Sorry, we don't offer it at this time. Third or fourth email, you're like, this is something the community wants. Like, we're just like this tiny little gym in the middle of downtown Snohomish. 4 or 5 people are asking about this thing. So we started looking into it. You have to go to Indianapolis at the time. It was a 3-day training. We're like, this sounds super awesome. But for Lacey and Vito, who had just bought the gym, I was a part-time employee. Like, there's no way like they can afford to send us there. Like, that's not, realistic. But we were very fortunate to cross paths with an organization called Camp Brian. They were a nonprofit that was built around their best friend, Brian Camp. He was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's, and they all went to Cascade High School. And they kind of formed around him when he was diagnosed. He was in his 30s, and we're like, we're your best friends. We're going to support you. So they had this little grassroots nonprofit, and they heard about Rock Steady Boxing. They're like, this is something we need to do. Like, this totally fits in with us. So by the end of the week, Lacey and I had a grant to send us to Indianapolis to go get this training. So it was kind of a full circle moment there, right? Like, it wasn't because of my grandma that I sought this out, but it was like the universe placed this in my lap.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
It's lovely how those things come together sometimes.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been over on Avenue D now?
We've been there 6 years. Before that, we were over on Pine and Maple where the bike shop is.
Okay, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah. So we used to be there for like decades, and it's a cute building, but we were pretty much invisible.
Oh.
Like we had a little coffee shop and people would stop, you know, hop off the trail and come and get a coffee. And they're like, wow, you have a gym here? So when the bike shop bought that building and we moved to Avenue D, it was so perfect for both of us, I think, because the bike shop being on First Street,
Right.
not the best place to be. Now they're in the perfect spot. And now we're in a great spot where people are driving by and seeing us. So, yeah.
The spot is definitely a highly visible spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, right down the hill from the barbecue place now.
That's right.
I'm glad we mentioned the location because I recall something that happened. Was it maybe 2 years ago now with the flags?
I mean, we've had a long history with the flags.
Okay.
Lacey and I are both very adamant about making sure that people know they are welcome in our facility.
Right. Yes.
So I think it was shortly before the first Snohomish Pride event that we both helped with, that we decided like we needed to have the flags up at all times. It wasn't just a month of June thing. It was, they need to be out there so people know that they can walk in the door and have a safe space. So yeah, throughout the years, they've gotten stolen multiple times and we just keep putting them back up. And now we have a sticker on the front door. Yeah, I now have a stash of flags. So if I come in one morning and flags are gone, I just hang them right back up.
And, you know, the reason why I felt it was, you know, necessary to mention the flags, one, I thought it was great the first time I saw it because I feel like Snohomish County itself has a bit of a reputation about not being welcoming and supportive. And so the first time I drove by, I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's like, okay, no, focus on the road because, you know, Avenue D can get pretty busy.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, they have the pride flags right there, right out front, and it's not June, you know. And so that was pretty prominent for me. But of course, also as I'm looking and I'm seeing the flags, you know, I'm seeing that it's for Parkinson's. I'm like, wow, okay, hold on a second, because here's something that when we talk about Parkinson's, it impacts anybody.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
It does not discriminate based on your ethnicity, your gender, your age. Because I mean, when we were talking about someone in their 30s, and I want to say my dad was like maybe in his 50s, but it's like when we talk about creating community, there's so many layers to it. And I feel it's important for everyone to feel safe, to feel welcome, to be free from harm and harassment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, of course, when I saw the flags and saw what it was for, I'm like, okay, yeah, these are my people right here, you know.
That's what we try to be. We try to, like we want people to feel safe. Like, especially with Parkinson's, it's such a scary diagnosis.
Right.
You know, so to have a place where you are free to be yourself, like whether you are 30 years old, whether you're 80 years old, whether you're lesbian, whether you're straight, like anyone with a diagnosis of Parkinson's that's feeling anything, they're welcome there. They're safe there. They can feel all their feelings there. They can be like, you know what, today is a crappy day. I'm having more pain than I normally have. And everyone's like, oh man, that sucks. I hate those days. You know, it's just,
Right. And I think it's through that learning, that understanding of what people are going through, that it becomes less of this thing that we shy away from or we're afraid of, or that, you know, hopefully nobody's teasing somebody with that. But, you know, with some of the conditions that we mentioned, I think back to when I was working in special education, you know, and we have had, at least years ago, I hadn't seen it recently, but I have heard of things happening, kids being teased for maybe how they're walking or how they're standing, or maybe they're drooling or making certain sounds, you know? And so it's like, we all have different things that are going on. And so why do we have to make it difficult just to be who we are?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the whole flag situation and about creating communities of belonging, we're in a pretty interesting time right now, you know, to say the least.
Yeah.
I'll just put this example because it was just in the news, whereas some people are scanning through websites and, you know, looking at things through a lens of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, always say it out loud, that history is being erased. You know, there was a piece on Jackie Robinson yesterday where they said that his website was taken down.
Yeah,
because
off the veterans. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, hold on a second. When we start erasing history and we start targeting specific groups and having it be okay to target those groups, that's a scary road that we're
It is.
on.
And then it creates this cycle. Like we've been here before.
We have.
And we erased all that. And now here we are again because people don't know that we already did this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
You have to remember it all, the good and the bad, so that you don't get in this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And diversity makes us better.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if we were all healthy white people, like how boring would that be, right? Like,
well, I often think about it when people are anti-diversity, if that's a thing. It's like, okay, so we're all going to eat the exact same thing every day. Okay. We're all going to wear the same clothes. We all got to look the same, drive the same cars, do the same thing. We can't have anything be different.
yeah,
Right. And it's like, that's not how the world works.
no,
That'd be super boring.
it would be super boring. Like
Maybe we wouldn't
no personal style. No, yeah, no,
Right.
it's just so boring.
maybe we wouldn't know any better because that's all we do. But like, really?
And we're like stepping into Stepford Wives or whatever that movie was.
Right.
We don't want that.
It was. So, as we're talking about the importance of building community, not that we need any names or anything, but has there been any kind of story that has really stood out to you about someone you worked with or several people?
I mean, there are countless stories.
I bet.
So April is Parkinson's Awareness Month. So I always try to do something involving our athletes. We call them athletes at the gym. We don't call them patients.
Right.
They're not patients. They're badass people fighting back against this disease. So every April, we try to feature them in our social media and just really spread awareness about Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I always ask, because it is just the most beautiful answer, is like, what do they like best about coming to the gym and doing the exercises? And without fail, they will all mention the camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have never met anyone with Parkinson's before until they walked into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been out there living their life. Some of them hiding their disease from others because
Right.
they don't want to be treated differently. They don't want to be felt sorry for. And to walk into this gym and it just be a room full of people that all have Parkinson's, that understand what they're going through, and it's like they love that. Like they call it their community center, their support group, and it's just built into this thing that they're doing that helps them manage their disease and slow down their disease. So like watching them go out to lunch afterwards, watching these friendships grow that they never would have met otherwise, right? Like they're, all walks of life, all different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
They probably would not have met out in the world just randomly, but they come here because they have this thing that brings them together, which is a horrible disease, but it gives them a family and a community that really just gets them.
Mm-hmm.
They feel at home. They don't have to hide.
At home-ish.
At home-ish, that's right.
Just had to plug that in there. But listening to you, I know I probably referenced this in a previous episode. This is another case for affinity groups, right? Because I feel like oftentimes in conversations, when people say affinity groups, they only look at it through the lens of, oh, well, here's a BIPOC group, or here's the white group, or here's the LGBTQ group. But it's like, no, there are various groups of people with different lived experiences that find camaraderie when they're able to come together with people who have that similar connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not isolating themselves. If anything, it gives them the courage to go out into the world and live more authentically. Because they're here in the gym with these people sharing this lived experience. And they can be like, you know what? I don't have to hide this when I'm out in the world. This is part of who I am. And yes, it sucks, but it's part of me. And it doesn't define me. It doesn't make me less than. That's who I am. And so watching them get that courage to be, we've had people that haven't come in and they're like, I haven't actually told my work yet, so please don't post pictures of me, and to see them let down those walls and be like, you know what? I have Parkinson's.
Yes.
It's part of me now.
It is. I think there's so many things in this world where we're kind of raised to feel shame or embarrassment about something. And it's something that like so many people go through. On that note, on average, about how many people have Parkinson's? Do you know the breakdown of that?
There are 90,000 new cases diagnosed in the U.S. each year, about.
Mm-hmm.
And current statistics say there's about 1 million people in the U.S. And I forget the number for the whole world, but it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that also makes me think about another good point, because I feel there are also people out there who have other diseases or disorders. And because we're kind of wired to not talk about it, the perception, I mean, some actually are super rare, but the perception that it's rare, and then we have an inability to actually provide supports and resources for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so really, like, how do we work to have more communication around what people are going through, so they have that sense of community and connection and feel at home-ish, can get what they need.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, like I said, I'm trying to do with especially this year's Parkinson's Awareness Month campaign. Like I've been interviewing as many of our athletes as will sit in a room and talk with me. And so like all of April, we're going to be posting on our social media these little interviews I've done with people talking about how are their symptoms impacting their life currently? Like what have they gained by coming? Like what are things they want people to know about Parkinson's? Because it is such a misunderstood disease. You think Parkinson's, you think tremor, you think Michael J. Fox.
Right.
But, there's loss of smell, there's depression. And it's not depression because, I just got this diagnosis and I'm sad. Like depression is a symptom of the disease. So not being able to move your body the way, getting to a doorways and transitions like that are prime spots for people with Parkinson's to freeze or fascinate, meaning that their body just gets stuck. Like they want to go, they think they're going, and their body's just like, no, I just need a moment. So talking about all those things and how it's not a death sentence if you have Parkinson's. You're not going to die from Parkinson's. You're going to die with it. And it's slowly just going to take away more things. But the more you exercise, the slower it'll take those things away from you. So,
yeah, exercise is so important.
Yeah.
So stay active.
That's right. Keep moving.
So you mentioned a couple times social media. Where can people find you?
We are on Instagram, Rocksteady Boxing Pacific Northwest. We're on TikTok. We do some fun reels and videos on TikTok of our athletes in action. And we're also on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because, get those likes, shares, and comments out there.
Absolutely.
We definitely want to support our social media. And then I also asked this question: where would you recommend people to go if they want to learn more about Parkinson's?
The American Parkinson's Disease Association, or APDA, is a great resource. There's also a local foundation, Northwest Parkinson's Foundation. They do a lot of education and resources for people with Parkinson's.
There's one thing I've realized as we're kind of discussing, people don't often know about these resources until they need them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I feel it's important to have awareness around, maybe it's simply an informational piece.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, I want to support this piece, or hey, maybe someone's going through something and they're not quite sure what it is yet.
Yeah.
Look into this.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Michael J. Fox Foundation is another great one for resources and information.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I have to think back to when you reached out to me back in January. And I remember I said at first it was, like a couple of weeks ago, but I specifically remember when you reached out to me, because you reached out to me on January 2nd.
Yeah.
And January 2nd was my dad's birthday.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. And so it was like, oh my gosh, like, wow. The timing was like just crazy. And Trent and I were in conversations at that time about, hey man, are you going to do season 2? People are wanting it. People are ready for it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to think through like, who I want to have on as a guest and what topics we want to cover. Because last season we had a bunch of people in different leadership roles, right? Because when we talk about creating spaces for belonging, oh yeah, why wouldn't you have like the mayor and the sheriff and some senators and bring all these people in like, here's what we do and here's this policy, here's this regulation. And it's like, all right, yeah, good, okay, cool. And then you hit me up and working with folks with Parkinson's on my dad's birthday. And I'm like, ooh, I feel like when we talk about creating spaces that are at home-ish, really addressing issues that are impacting people every day that we don't typically talk about, right? I know I was deeply impacted by what my dad experienced, and I didn't understand it. And also I wasn't there. I only got to see occasionally how he was continuing to decline, like you mentioned. And in talking with my mom, how, sometimes he just didn't feel like doing the physical therapy. And the doctor saying that, hey, you've got to move. You've got to stay active. And because he was active when he worked, but not active outside of that. I never saw him go to like the gym. And if my mom, my sister, and I went on an evening walk, he typically didn't walk with us. So he had not embraced an active lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, and apathy is another symptom of Parkinson's.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was just really difficult to experience from a distance, and even more so when I was there. So enough about how this has impacted me and how important it was to get you on. How has this impacted you? What's kind of your story with this?
Honestly, this is the best job that I've ever had. Like watching these people, they show up every day, whether they feel like it or not. Like half the time they'll come in and they'll be like, I don't even want to be here, but I know I need to be here. Mm-hmm. And watch them put everything that they have into their workout, into hitting the bags, into to doing what they can to keep their quality of life. It is just so heartwarming. Like if they can do this every day, why aren't all of us doing what we need to do just to have our best life? Like they're putting in so much work and so much effort, seeing them improve, seeing them do things that they didn't think they could do. One story that comes to mind, again, I ask them a lot of questions. So one thing I've asked in the past is, what's something that you couldn't do before and now you can?
Oh.
So one of our guys at the time, he has now since passed away, but years ago, he was so excited. He's like, my son lives in California. I flew on a plane by myself to go see him. Usually I take a caretaker with me just because it's so hard, like managing, the airplane and sitting for so long, it makes you stiff.
Right.
Even when you don't have a disease that makes you stiff. So, and he was so excited that he's like, I took the airplane by myself to go to California to visit my son. He's like, I couldn't have done that a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
One of the surgical interventions that you can do for Parkinson's is called deep brain stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
So they put electrodes into your brain.
Yes.
They wire it into a battery pack under your chest like a pacemaker. And then you have control with enough programming. They'll set you up with a remote so you can adjust the amount of stimulation you're getting. But the stimulation is interrupting your brain. So it can calm your tremor. It can loosen up your body so you're not as stiff. So we had a gal that really wanted to do it, but she didn't want to shave her head. And so in addition to working out, every month we try to do either something fun or something educational. So we had a month where Dr. Kim from Optum came in and talked about deep brain stimulation and how it works. But seeing her like, I'm going to do this. And I don't care if I have to be bald to do it. Like, I want to do this so much that I will live through the uncomfortableness of being bald. To her, looking good like she does, her nails, she does her eyelashes, like she always wants to look put together.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to look like she's sick. So the thought of shaving her head to have things implanted into her brain was scary. Well, one of the guys brought a wig that his wife had used when she was on cancer. People were knitting her scarves and hats. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And she did it. And she's like, you know what? I look good bald. I don't know why I was scared of being bald. And, so seeing them get the courage to try things that were like, I can't do that, but I can. And I did it. And
what's funny about that story is I almost wore a shirt today that said bald never looked this good. And so we're going to need to get her one of those.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So as you were sharing the story about people being more active and wanting to have control of their lives, there was a song that came to mind for me. The artist is Kedron Bryant, and the song is I Just Want to Live.
Okay.
And when that song comes on, at least for me, when I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh. It came out around the time that George Floyd was killed, I believe. And he was 15 years old then. And to hear this kid singing this song the way that he did.
Yeah.
Oh. And, You know, I would never have that as like my theme song or my walk up song. But if I'm ever doing a presentation and I want people to kind of pause and think about what it really means to create community and show up for people, the side of showing up for people, but when we reflect on who we're showing up for, and while they may not say it or sing it, what they're feeling that they want to live, they want to have access to life. So, but I do want to toss it to you and ask you, if there was a song that played when you walked into a room, what would you want that song to be?
That's such a hard question for me. So my degree is in music.
Ooh, see?
I've been dancing my whole life. I've been playing instruments my whole life. So music is so much a part of me. It's in everything I do. Like I am always, if there's music on, I'm dancing. And but I hate this question because it's always so hard for me because it depends on the situation, right?
Very
like
much so.
Lady Gaga, Born This Way, like hands down, yes, absolutely. Love Me, Anything and Everything, Prince. Always been a huge Prince fan. So many songs, but
you know, so I am gonna have
Born This Way, Lady Gaga.
This Way?
I think
that's the one. Okay,
yeah, I think so.
Because I was gonna have to have you narrow it down to one because this season I am gonna pull together the at home-ish Spotify playlist, and so people can go back and listen to the songs that people said. So I'll toss some Prince in there too.
Okay, good, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. A lot of good nuggets, a lot of good information of where people can go. And I think like one of the biggest things that I feel came out of this conversation, it's important for us to be comfortable with who we are, not to be ashamed of what we're going through, and reach out and be a part of our communities.
Absolutely that. And make space for people to be themselves. So, you know, if you talk to a lot of our athletes, they'll say things like, it just takes me longer to get ready. You know, it takes me longer to do things. My body's stiff, so it takes me 30 minutes to get dressed in the morning instead of 5 minutes.
Right.
They can have a hard time finding the words and they can have a hard time getting them out. So creating that space and that patience for them to be themselves is a big thing for them, you know, so.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important for us to learn how we can support others, listen, and as always, when we wise up, we rise up. Peace out.